on the show, I realized that I am a hypocrite. Well, hey there, Pro-Church Nation, and welcome to this episode of Ask Brady, the weekly episodic video show where we answer your questions. We answer every question and any question. No questions are off limits, except the ones that I say I don't want to do.
That's also true.
Got four great questions lined up for you today. Not too much really to share in terms of pro-church life, except for that we have a new employee this week, Alex, the product manager of Nucleus, just started. Already impressive. Not only his man bun, but also his ability to do good work.
Yeah.
Interestingly, the last two employees that we've hired, both have lived in Uganda.
Yeah, that was surprising.
What are the chances? Because I had Alex, we were doing a Nucleus video yesterday, and I asked Alex, I said, maybe you can tell the Nucleus user something unique about yourself. He's like, well, I lived in Uganda, but so did the last person that you hired, so I guess that's not exactly unique. I don't think the next hire, who's actually starting next week, Kyle, 3 hires in 3 weeks.
Pretty crazy.
I don't think he has ever lived in Uganda.
No, I can confirm he has never lived in Uganda.
That would be an interesting swerve, though I don't expect it happening. Let's dive right into the questions.
So the first question comes from Nate.
Nate asks, how important is it to encourage our church members to review us on Facebook?
Nate, okay, so every Facebook page has the option to leave a review. If you're a certain type of page, I think if you're I think there are certain, like, when you sign up for a Facebook page and you choose your organization or business or entity type, I think not all of them have reviews, but most do. And every single one that is a church will have the option for reviews. You can turn reviews off, I know that also. But the reason that Nate's asking this question is because so many of our churches have experienced that feeling when you log into Facebook and you see a new review and it's a 1-star review, probably from a crazy person that is not reflective on your church. It's someone who's leaving a review that's angry at God. It's someone that's leaving a review from a neighboring church, or they go to a different church now and they were hurt from some benign reason. A review that just isn't reflective on your church's quality. It's reflective on, like, the music was too loud and they didn't provide earbuds and clearly they're in cahoots with Satan. And you're like, okay. The problem with Facebook reviews is you can't remove them. So I could go on to your church's Facebook page, Nate, and say that, you hate small children and then you cook them and make them into stew, like some crazy, disgusting old fairy tale. And there's nothing you could do about it, Nate. You would be known as the evil fairy tale church. That's what you would become known as. You might as well change your name because there's nothing you can do. It's permanent. And you can't reach out to Facebook. They don't care. They won't do anything about it. And so a 1-star review can be particularly, I'm going to say it, damning, because there's nothing you can do about it. It's the scarlet letter and you got to wear it for the rest of your life. And so I do think that asking your church to leave reviews on Facebook can be a great thing. We often do this with our own products and services at Pro Church Tools. So we'll run like an annual giveaway of like, oh, we're giving away a camera. You want to get the camera and enter the giveaway? Leave a review for the Pro Church podcast. We've done that. We've done it. I think that's actually the only time we've ever done leave a reviews, because we've never created a book or anything.
Yeah. I think that's the only time that we've really specifically asked for reviews.
And now our podcast has hundreds of 5-star reviews, which is very important for the iTunes algorithm. And we wouldn't have got those if we hadn't gone out our way and asked. And here's the thing. If you just ask, people will do it. Like, people are looking for ways to give back, looking for ways to support you. And, there are some difficult asks when it comes to social. Like, be like, hey, would you please share a status? That can be difficult for people. Like, if you have like a sermon clip and you ask someone to share it, like, that might not be in line with their own personal social policy. Like, I have very strict social policies for what I'll post personally. And sharing one of my church's posts probably doesn't fall in line with that. I don't want to share that publicly. Oh, but you want me to go in and do something that like helps you that isn't public to my social sphere of influence? Oh yeah, I'm totally willing to do that. And so all you have to do is ask. And we talked about this on the last episode of Ask Brady. to get even more responses, you might want to incentivize it the same way that we do a camera giveaway or a contest. And the way to enter the contest is to leave a review. You could even incentivize it if you want. Like say, for every review that we get over the next 5 months, leave your name on the review. That's actually, 5 months, like 5 days. Leave your name, that's your real name, and you'll be entered to win like a $100 gift card to the favorite restaurant down the street. A great way to incentivize reviews. Why are you gonna do this? Well, if you have a bad review that's come in, what it's gonna do is offset that bad review. Because unless people go into the reviews and actually look, this bad review isn't gonna show up unless it's the most recent. So you wanna drown that out, and you also want to use the law of averages in your favor. If you have 10 5-star reviews and 1 star, you're still gonna have a 4.5 plus star rating. And everyone online who knows anything knows that there's gonna be whack jobs. The problem is if there's only whack jobs. Or if you've got like 2 5-star reviews and 1 star, and it shows up as like a 3-star or 4-star overall, people are like, this is kind of weird. I was reading this interesting article about how Netflix is changing their ratings system because the way that things work online is that anything like below, like 4 stars and below is considered kind of worrisome. Like this happens on Uber as well. So my wife and I were in Florida this past week and we Ubered everywhere. So we're Ubering in Tampa, Ubering in Miami, and you'd see the star rating of your driver and you'd be like, oh, 4.85, okay, that's good. And then we got one that was like 3.85, and that was the lowest I've ever had on Uber, and I was like, I'm pretty sure we're gonna get killed. And it was like a tough experience. Like he didn't drive well, he was all over the road, he wasn't polite, and we made it, and I was very polite and I gave him a 5-star review because I to have a 3.8 5-star rating, and he was like a really poor guy, I think, like he's just like, that's really tough. And so I wanted to show that I was supportive of his future rather than his past. But online, like ratings like that are considered bad. Wait a minute, that's like an 80%. Doesn't matter. Online, that's considered bad. And if you're on Uber and you're like below a 4.5, you're considered like a serial killer, like perhaps. And if you get like, if you go to buy something on Amazon and I see like something on Amazon, it's like rated 4 stars, I'm like, okay, why is this defective? Because like 4 stars, that's how bad so Netflix is reconsidering their rating. If you look on Netflix, you'll see their rating system they're reconsidering. You go on Netflix, you see a show, it's like every show is 4 stars and up. Well, not every show can be 80% good. This is why the Rotten Tomatoes scale is so great, because it's the dynamic range of the Rotten Tomatoes scale. You'll see movies that are 10% and above and below. You'll see movies that are 90% and above. You need the full dynamic range. And so that's what good rating systems do, but for the majority of the internet's rating systems, we expect 4.5 and above. If you are below 4.5, we will question it. So I would, for 2 reasons, ask your church to leave reviews and incentivize it if you need more. 1, to preventatively make sure that if you do get a bad review in the future, it's not gonna like overwhelm anything, and it'll just be a drop in the pan, and it won't even show up. People will click, they'll see 20 5-star reviews, 1 star, and they'll be like, okay, sure, there was 1 bad guy. That always happens. If on the flip side, if you've already had a bad review, you can drown it out. So whether you're doing this preemptively or reactively, I still think it's a great thing to do. Boost those ratings.
Cool. So question 2 comes from Rachel.
Rachel says, what are your thoughts about side navigation versus top of the site navigation? I've gone through your best websites and I've seen a mix of both, so wondering what is most effective.
Rachel is referring to our top 25 best church websites of 2017 post. We'll link that in the show notes. One of our most popular posts, actually it is the most popular post that we've ever published on Pro Church Tools, and we update it yearly. And there are a couple of websites. One of them, I don't know the full church's name, but I think it's Commons is in there. Commons, like Church of the Commons or Commons Church. There's some hipster church with like, and they have side navigation on their website. They actually have 4-corner navigation. It's a crazy website. It's very unique. But top navigation on your website is obviously standard and most popular. Side navigation is definitely not normal. And so if you're going to do it, you want to make sure that you execute it very, very well. And there's not a single site that I own where I have side navigation, so I don't even think I would recommend it. Top navigation is great. You can have top navigation scroll with you as you scroll down the page, because that would be one of the reasons why side navigation might be nice. You could have side navigation be there constantly. Now, here's why side navigation on main pages is becoming a little bit more of a thing. Because in app interfaces and in like online app interfaces, side navigation is more popular. So for instance, I'm looking, Roxanne on her MacBook, you can't see this, but she has Evernote, the app opened, and that's where we keep our Ask Brady questions, and it has side navigation on the left-hand side. The Nucleus app, you log into Nucleus, it has side navigation. It's very common in actual software or in mobile apps. Not very popular on websites. And so what we're beginning to see is a little bit of a crossover. People are taking the design mocks of a software app and being like, wait a minute, why can't we put this in our actual, website? Why not? And so there is a bit of a crossover. I still think you'd want to have mostly top navigation for your website. No need to get crazy. If you are going to put side navigation in, make sure you know why you're doing it. Don't just follow it for the sake of the trend. Be like, okay, why are we putting this side navigation in? Is it because we want the navigation to be permanently on the screen, and no matter how much a user scrolls, it's not going to disappear, and that's important to us? Do we want to put the side navigation in there because it makes sense for a mobile-first approach? Do we want to put the side navigation in there because it's going to help with the overall responsive design? Are we going to put the side navigation in there because analytics have proven X, Y, and Z on our specific website? Don't just put it in there for the sake of a trend. It is such an off trend, an obscure trend, that there's no reason to do it just for the aesthetics. Do it with UX in mind as well. Find the reason why, and by default, just go with the top navigation.
And do you think that applies to everything that's trend based, like with design, like gradients are really in this year? Is it okay to just go with gradients because it's cool, or do you always have to have a reason for why you're doing something in design?
We always want to have a reason why, but there's certain levels of why that are okay. So for instance, in your own personal life, you always want to make purposeful decisions, right? But there are so many decisions that don't really need a purpose. For some, what you eat for dinner on a given night isn't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
For some, whether you buy black shoes or white shoes isn't that big of a deal. For some, whether you watch The Office tonight or Game of Thrones isn't a big deal. There are so many inconsequential decisions, and everything is compounding and adding up over time. But for some, whether you wear a watch with a black band or a blue band, it's who cares? So that's not a purposeful decision.
Right.
Now, all of these things I've mentioned, I make purposeful decisions on. So I'm trying to find one that I would make arbitrarily. Now, every decision I make is too well thought out. And there's got to be a decision that I don't think through. No, see, the way I do it is I just become impulsive. Every decision I make is purposeful, and then my brain is like, yo, bro, just do something impulsive. Taco Bell! And then we end up going to Taco Bell. So some people have that built into their life in a good way. They don't have a problem like I do with compulsivity. They have they're a little, I'm so uptight and rule boy, where everything has to be in line and consistent, that my brain will sometimes be like, break the rules, Brady. And I'll be like, Wendy's and Taco Bell! And I'll feel like I need, but others have a more balance in life. So good for them. Point being, the more obscure a trend is, the more I would want to have a solid reason why for doing it. Right. The difference between using a gradient and a background texture, that could be very ambiguous and subjective. And so going with what's current in design trends makes sense. I was having a conversation this week with someone in a private Facebook group that we're a part of, and they were asking, they were saying, someone in my church really wants to use papyrus font, and they're insisting that we use it. And they were like, Brady, how do I get them to not do it? How do I get them to realize? And I said, say no. And they were like, okay, but this person's especially particular, and I was like, okay, great. So if that's the case, let's take this another step. So this speaks to the degrees of making decisions. And I said, okay, let's get to the why. And this person responded saying, well, I think the reason she wants papyrus is because the theme of the VBS for which this graphic was being made is an ancient theme, tabernacle theme. And so they want something that feels a bit like ancient script. And I was like, great, she has a strong reason why, which is awesome. And she cares enough about the graphic for this that she wants a typeface that matches the overall theme. She really cares. And because she cares so much, what you can do is you can circumvent that care and say, look, if we use Papyrus, I understand why you're going to use this, but there's a reason that it's the laughingstock of all fonts in the design community. And so if we use Papyrus, it's actually going to make us look bad. So let's find an alternative that has the same type of feeling that you're seeing, but doesn't, ruin and make us a laughingstock. And so what I'm getting at here with that, and that's a bit of a sidebar, is that there are different degrees of decision making. Some need a really strong why. Some, can have a very loose why. I'm the type of person that has a why for everything. I very rarely make a decision that is completely non-reason based. And if I can even bring it down to like my main goals in life, is this decision moving me closer to that or not? So I always like to link things to why, but it doesn't mean that it has to be like a super well thought out existential crisis either. So hopefully that helps.
Cool. Question 3 comes from Thompson World.
Thompson World says, when, if ever, is it appropriate to boost a Facebook post rather than creating a Facebook ad?
Okay, so Facebook ads platform. The single greatest ad platform in the history of our lifetime, in the history of humankind. Why? Because it has the biggest audience. 8 out of 10 Americans are active on Facebook, which is a crazy number because there's always going to be a group of people that aren't online at all, a very small portion, but 8 out of 10, 80% on this one platform active there. And Facebook gives you the targeting ability that is unmatched by any other platform. You can target based on demographics, based on interests, based on relationship status, based on do they like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. No billboard can do that. And it's massively underpriced. It is the perfect trifecta of advertising. Underpriced, very specific targeting, giant population on it. Those are it's the 3 perfect things. That's what makes Facebook amazing. With that being said, because Facebook is so amazing and because their ad platform is so robust, it is very easy to waste money there. And this is where people kind of get misunderstood on Facebook. They think, okay, obviously a billboard isn't going to work, so I'm going to use Facebook ads. And then they spend the exact same money that they would have on the billboard or the radio ad or the print ad or the mailer on Facebook, and they're like, I didn't get any good results. Because Facebook has no problem taking your money. And one of the best ways that they do this is with the boost button. And I think we've talked about this on prior Ask Brady's.
Yeah, I think so.
Where Facebook is going to entice you to click that boost button. And they'll use any type of copywriting and flame emojis to make it happen. I love the flame emoji. You'll be scrolling through, a recent post on Facebook and there's this flame emoji and be like, 1,800% higher than your most recent post. And you're like, does that mean my most recent post was trash or that this is good? Because that seems like I don't really know how to make that comparison. And then you'll post the next one and it'll be like, this post is performing 65% better than the last 3 posts combined after midnight. And you're like, it's like those crazy sports stats, like baseball. You got 3 hours of baseball every single day. I'm like, oh, Joe Smith is batting 350 on the season on night games on Tuesdays after he eats a large dinner the night before and his wife isn't traveling with him. So tonight, that means nothing. And it's like one of those stats where and Facebook will literally do anything they can to entice you to hit the boost button. And why do we hit the boost button? Because it's the easiest way to promote on Facebook. And so if you listen to Brady all the time, and Brady's always like, yo, use Facebook ads. Yo, use Facebook ads. And then you think, oh, I should use Facebook ads. I don't want to get inside the Power Editor because that thing's insane. I don't even want to use the regular Facebook ad manager because even that's difficult. Oh, I'll just click the boost button. That's easy. Simple. Sure. And that's the way that Facebook steals your money. It's not that the boost button necessarily doesn't work, although 9 out of 10 times I wouldn't recommend it. It's that it's just a cheap, enticing way to get you to use the Facebook ads platform. So if you've never used Facebook ads before and you've got a couple of bucks to spend, go ahead, boost a post and measure the organic reach you're getting on a regular post versus the boosted reach that you're getting on a paid for boosted post. But with that being said, we spend on average $10K on Facebook a month and only about 5% of that budget is on boosted posts. And the reason that we use that is because we have a pretty large following on Facebook. Here's the only time we use boosted posts. Here's the only time I'd recommend you use it. When you have a post that is organically performing well, based on whatever Facebook's saying, and you can track your own metrics if you don't believe their crazy, enticing copywriting. A post that is organically performing well that we want our existing Facebook likes to see more of. So I don't use it to reach a cold audience that doesn't know about me. I use it to reach the people that have already liked our Facebook page, because we've got like 20,000 likes there. So there's a bunch of people already there. If I post something on Facebook, they're not going to see it probably. A select few will. If those select few see it and say, oh, this is great, I will then push it to the remaining large majority with a boosted post. Why do I do this? Well, I let the organic reach, as minuscule as it is, judge. I'll let the market decide, do they like this post or not? If they do, I am willing to spend money to get it promoted to everywhere. And people get upset because Facebook used to be free and organic reach used to be awesome, and we're beyond that, and so the rage has subsided a bit. But we pay for exposure everywhere. Like, you wouldn't go to the radio and be like, can I get a free ad? They'd be like, no. And you'd be like, how dare you? Of course that wouldn't happen, right? We just became accustomed to Facebook being free, and then they said, yeah, well, we're gonna charge just like every other place on earth, and that's how we're gonna make us awesome. And this is the problem with free, right? Like, there's only a certain amount of free that can be sustained before the quality suffers. Facebook has become the greatest ads platform in the history of all time, of humankind. How? By charging for it. The changes that they made have allowed Facebook to be amazing. They didn't make those changes. You're probably not even watching this right now. Why? Because Pro Church Tools exponentially grew through Facebook ads. We did content marketing exclusively for 3 years, and we had an email list of about 3,000, and then we started paying for Facebook ads, and that went to 30,000. It 10x'd in 12 months because we boosted it using Facebook ads. That was poor use of church. We didn't boost posts. Point being, this is like a strategy and a formula that always works, not just for Facebook ads. Test something organically and then pay to boost it exponentially. Test something organically, boost exponentially. Dang, you should put that on the screen. Test organically, boost exponentially.
I'm so glad you said that a third time, because I was worried I was going to have to rewind the video and watch it again.
Test organically, boost exponentially. And there are so many different ways that you can do this. We'll do this a lot with social media and our blog posts. So what I'll do is I'll post something on Instagram or Twitter that I think I've got something here. I think this idea is great. And if we get a big response, normal than others on social, I'll then turn it into a full-blown blog post. Right. But sometimes I think something's awesome, and then Pro Church Nation is like, okay, fine, that's just regular post, or not even as good as an, and then I'm like, well, good thing I didn't write a whole article on that, right? So you could do this with sermon series. Test organically within social, just organic reach on Instagram, on Facebook. People love it, maybe you turn it into a full-blown sermon series. But you don't want to invest a ton of resources into something that's unproven. Right. Wow, this took a side train, but that's some good stuff. People, write that down. People are listening to this in their car, and they're just like falling out in the spirit. They're saying, amen. We didn't post a podcast for like a couple weeks because of the Nucleus launch and then the vacation. People were losing it. Like knocking on my door being like, how dare you? Yeah, I've got a question. First off, how dare you? And I'm like, it's because I haven't missed a podcast in years.
Yeah, I was pretty shocked myself, so.
Blame the cancellations, because we were all lined up for Nucleus, some cancellations happened, and then it was the middle of the Nucleus launch. I couldn't make up for the cancellations at that point.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I could have been more ahead. But I've enjoyed doing the podcasts. Like, we used to do podcasts that were like 3 months in advance, and it was like a bit far. And now we're doing them like weeks in advance, and I've enjoyed that more because it hasn't been as extreme, and I'm a little bit more like current, which is nice.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, that's my answer to that. Boost? Probably not. If you are going to do it, make sure you have the budget. Don't boost first. Only boost if you have the budget and are already spending elsewhere in Facebook ads, and then boost to get an already well-performing organic post to your existing Facebook likes. Only time you should ever use it. Into 2017. Facebook could change everything.
Cool.
Question 4. How would you go about including clips from movies, TV, music, in videos and announcements?
So this is something that we sometimes do on Ask Brady. I'll make a reference to a sitcom and we'll put in like the 30-second clip or something. With music, we don't do this because music has every song, pardon me, every song has like a secret, and I don't know the correct terminology for this, but I've researched it enough to know it's true. It has this secret thing that you can't hear, but machines can hear and algorithms can hear to know that the song is copyrighted, to know who it's copyrighted by, and to know whether or not you can use it. And so it will track you down and tell you you can't use it. And there's this myth that isn't true legally at all, but it has been perpetuated, that you can use, like, as long as you use 30 seconds or less of a song, then you're cool. Not true. And with that being said, we hear radio stations doing this all the time, and so that's what's led us to do it in our own media. You know, a radio station will play like something, you're like, oh, do they have the rights to that? They have all like the things covered on that. They've got all these licenses to make sure they can do that. With movies and with TV shows, you're not allowed to do it, but there is no secret algorithm that's going to find you. So here's what I would say. Don't ever do it. If you are going to do it, make sure it's like 30 seconds or less, and make sure it's only like, it's not like a teaching point. It's not like an illustration. It's just like a funny aside. Like, just never do it. Just don't do it, okay? You know what? I take what I said. Just don't do it. Never do it. Do as I say, not as I do, okay?
So don't do what we do.
We rarely do it.
We do rarely do it.
And don't do it. I'm trying to make like a clear distinction here, but I'm not sure there necessarily is one. The point being that as a church, you should just never do that. And churches have been really bad at this. Because the problem here's why it's easy to make a line in the sand to just make sure you're clear, right? Like, nothing's gonna happen with our Ask Brady episodes. If someone sees that if NBC comes along, like, you put in a 30-second clip of The Office inside of a 25-minute video. First of all, they never find it because there's no, secret algorithm as far as I know, and because
they're probably not watching Ask Brady.
There's no, they'll take things down when people are including, like, if you look up The Office on YouTube, you won't be able to find full clips, full episodes, because they've been taken down. Churches have been known, though, to like do viewings of full movies, like host a movie night without the proper license. The At the Movies series has always been a bit tricky because there are licenses you can get. You gotta make sure you have those licenses to do it. And so it's just easier to draw a line in the sand and say, just don't do it. With music, obviously never do it. With video announcements, this is the only time where it would make sense, like, if you really want to do it. I've never done it with video announcements. I've only ever done it with Ask Brady, where, like, you make a joke and then you put in like a 10-second clip from The Office that, like, is making sense of the joke or something like that. But, that's probably harmless, but it's probably just easier to not do it at all.
Yeah.
Like, the risk there is probably minimal, but it's like, just why do it? So then the question would be like, Brady, why do you do it?
Why do you do it?
The only bad thing that's going to come is they're going to say, take down this episode of Ask Brady. And so it's like, okay, that's fine. We'll take it down and not do it again.
Right.
I'm not going to stop doing it, though. Now I kind of want to put a clip in here just to, like, not make my point. I would actually like to hear in the comments below, like, if you have any additional thoughts on this, because obviously I have always had a hard and fast rule of, like, don't ever do this just because it's easier. But obviously, I'm being a little bit hypocritical because we've put in some, like, funny asides in Ask Brady. Like, I'll be like, oh, it's like that one scene in Friends where Chandler says to Joey, blah, blah, blah. Hey, show that clip. And then they just show it. If anything, that's a promotion for the show, right? True, yeah. So that, I guess, is one distinction. Like, we're promoting the show as, like, a really funny thing, and you're not showing, like, a full thing. It's just a tiny excerpt, and we're citing it, and so it's almost like, citing other people's work in some way. So there is that. But I still don't think and know if that makes it clear. So add your comments below. I'd love to hear about that. Thanks for closing us on that question, by the way. Tricking me into that.
I actually reordered that question to the bottom today by accident. I just decided I wanted
by accident. On purpose. Isn't it funny how you say something happens by accident and it happens on purpose?
I think it's because I wasn't purposely putting it at the end for any reason. I was just like, I think this one should go at the end.
I'm just talking about semantics. Like, if you say,
by accident.
I ran into that car by accident. I ran into that car on purpose. You wouldn't say I ran into that car by purpose. And when people say I did that on accident, you're like, okay, Hick, like, use proper grammar. I ran into that car on accident.
I also say side words, so like forwards, backwards.
Thanks for watching this episode of Ask Brady. Say it. Sayonara to Roxanne.
No. Being replaced next week.
Roxanne will
Alex
always be here.
On.
Please send in your questions. Yeah, you didn't live in Uganda, so. Send in your questions, hashtag AskBrady on Instagram and Twitter, in the comments on YouTube and Facebook with the hashtag AskBrady. Some people send me in questions frequently and they don't put the hashtag AskBrady, and then I have to go, can we put this on AskBrady? And they say, yeah. And it's kind of a hassle sending them that and then getting their approval.
Just hashtag it.
Anytime you send me a message, just be like, hashtag AskBrady. Be like, Brady, I've just got like a deep question about life. Like, just been kind of hurt. Where do I turn? Hashtag AskBrady. We could use it that way, right? So make sure you add that hashtag. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. New episode every single Friday. Peace.